You're listening to the SKYLIT Books podcast. We're an independent, general interest bookstore putting great reads in the hands of people in the Los Feliz neighborhood of Los Angeles. Hosted by resident Skylighters, we're here to bring you new and exciting author conversations, group reads, and bookseller chats. Happy listening.
Hello, my beautiful listeners, and welcome to SKYLIT. This is the SKYLIT Books podcast, and I'm your host, Lance Morgan. Today, I'm so excited to introduce Adam Frost to talk about his new book, This Damn Lovely. Adam Frost was born and raised in Vancouver. He began as an actor and now works as a television writer and producer, best known for the crime shows Tribal and Castle. He lives on the east side of Los Angeles. He's also one hell of a t-ball coach. Adam, thank you so much for coming on. Also, I said this when I meant the damn lovely, just so the listeners, don't.
It's all right.
Like,
yes,
wait.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's the damn lovely. But
the damn lovely, not this. But it's this book. This book.
That's right.
The damn lovely. How are you doing today, Adam?
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I've been going to SKYLIT for many, many years. I used to live right down the street. And many nights and Sundays spent at SKYLIT.
Love it. I mean, same, but I get paid for it. No, I'm joking. I don't get paid. They just give you bucks, and it works out anyways. Well, you have a reading for us today? I'm excited to hear it.
I do, yeah. So Damn Lovely is the name of a dive bar in Glendale, and the book is a murder mystery and takes place with this guy sort of at a crossroads in his life, which I'll sort of get into in the reading. And when a patron gets murdered there, he takes it upon himself to use some of the influences, some of the other patrons who are ex-cops, and the bar is run by an ex-cop, to try and solve the murder himself when he doesn't sort of buy the local PD's angle.
Let's go. I'm ready.
All right. I took a sip and checked my phone, waiting for the screen to sing, praying, hoping. She held her ground and I lost the fight. The empty telephone reminding me I had no excuses to be in a better place, to be successful. I was an American, I was white, I grew up safe and surrounded by love. There was money for birthday parties and proper schools. I had a college degree in communications. I traveled to Southeast Asia, seen Europe, touched down in South Africa. I had a sweet girl who liked to cook and wanted a ring. We had an apartment in West Hollywood with good light. I'd found marketing early and wrote ad copy for 7 years, logos, corporate promos, internet ribbons, microcopy drawl, quippy garbage that paid the rent and then some. I was on the right track until I broke, crashed the cart and pulled the plug on my world of California lies. Staring at those smiling faces across the Doheny dinner table that night, the masquerade of happiness, the Instagram sham. There was no substance, no truth, no intent for anything more than gain. I had sealed the truth for years, locked and bottled that depression south, convinced I could kick it, convinced the gnaw would pass. Things are great, I kept saying, things are great. But something about those faces on that very Doheny night popped the cork and shattered the glass. I called it out, I let it rip ugly. These weren't my friends, they were assets, nothing more. This wasn't love, this was compliance on rails. I needed something pure, something with purpose and mine, all mine, that I truly adored. So I quit the girl who liked to cook, lost the apartment with the light and moved to Glendale, where it was cheaper, where there was no good light. And worst of all, I was compelled by a force inside my bones to write something real, something long and from the heart, something maybe even wise. This, more and more, it seemed, may have been a grave mistake. It was in no way working out. Still, I refuse to believe in misery. An honest rut is all. It'll turn around soon. It has to, because when you're going through hell in Glendale, keep going, right? So, soldier on, live with intent and drown those voices out. Drown them out, soldier. Swish, swish, a red Trojan alpha bro was swiping right at the bar. Americana runoff, sipping a sea breezer with a skinny lime. Slice and I shared a healthy glare of disdain when Jules crossed behind you, nodded to stool 9. She's back, Jules cooed. And there she was, hiding her green eyes under a black felt fedora and a worn out paperback of To the Lighthouse. She had dark brown hair pinned low at the back, wore a simple white V-neck tee exposing that soft skin around her collarbone. She sat straight with her legs crossed in black jeans that pinched in at her waist, exposing a band of flawless smooth lower back. She kept her face down, never spoke to a soul beyond ordering a drink, and never looked at her phone. Not once had I seen her look at her phone. Instead, she just buried her eyes in that book, drowning out the world with a Negroni and Wolf's words like some kind of mystery from a different era. She'd been in 4 times now by my count. It was consistent. Early in the afternoon, same drink, same book, alone, like an oasis in this godforsaken Glendale desert. I'd already applied Giles for credit card intel, but the unicorn paid cash. I rehearsed my ways in. Hard to believe Virginia Woolf was only 59 when she walked into that river. There's no way you live in Glendale. They say the Negroni was created by a count in Florence looking to spice up his usual cocktail. I could never pull off wearing a fedora like that. Drivel. Desperate rank sure to piss her off. I mean, how was I supposed to compete against the wolf? Giles snickered wise, but I didn't care. I was hooked hard and caved after watching her for an hour and 27 minutes. Hopped off my stool and crossed behind her, hoping to catch a scent of something as magical as she looked. It paid off when I caught a piece of something simple and sweet and beautifully feminine. When I got back to my stool, I tried not to stare and failed magnificently. She pulled a worn out denim shirt from her bag and wrapped the sleeves around her waist, closing the gap on that lower back. She had to know I was watching her, the way she shifted her legs, spinning that straw on the bar, clawing it around like a cat with her thin, slender fingers, those polished nails. She loved it. Or did she? Maybe she just liked to read, or maybe she wants you to talk to her, or maybe she wants to be left alone in peace. Roy Orbison cooed from the jukebox singing for a better tomorrow. No shit, Roy, maybe tomorrow. The Trojan Stain put down his phone, swilled his vodka cran, and chewed crude on his ice cubes, taking in the room, clocking that fedora now. Virginia Woolf, huh? Fedora smiled. Nearby, Slice grinned on his stool. Round 1. To the lighthouse? What happens at the lighthouse? It all burned. Let me buy you another drink and you can tell me what's so special about this lighthouse anyway, he blathered. What is that, Campari? No thanks, she said softly. She spoke. I was enthralled, hoping for a few more magical syllables, but the Trojan kept barking. Come on, you look like you'd use some company instead of that stupid old book. He left me no choice. I think she just wants to read. Fedora craned her face my way, curious. The Trojan twisted. I held my ground and stared down his ugly red University of Spoiled Children sweatshirt. Just saying, man, look at her body language. I don't know this woman, but I know this. See her fingers? Those little white tips at the end, pressing at the table like that? That means she's uncomfortable. They weren't like that before you started barking at her. She flashed a sweet smile my way, like she might have been impressed or possibly even thankful. I don't remember asking you. I could feel his fight boner starting to grow. She smiled and mouthed the words, thank you, rattling my heart some. Then she turned back his way. I'm really just trying to read. See, just leave her alone. The Trojan stood up and walked towards me, barking his way down the bar. Fedora squirmed, those fingertips still burning white. Maybe tomorrow, Roy belted. Eat shit, Roy. Maybe now, you prick. I barked back. I took my swing and cracked his jaw. The world went cold and slowed way down. His fist ripped into my gut. I doubled over, and then his fat finger slammed into my nose. Blood hit the bar. Blood sprinkled the limes. Slice cackled. Pa groaned. Giles roared. Fedora smiled sweet. I hit the ground fast and hard, but I was a hero. For a moment, I was a goddamn hero. And then my world smashed to black.
Thank you for that reading.
You're welcome.
No, you did a great job of that reading. You have the gritty voice of that down. Listen, if they are looking for an audiobook reader for it, throw your hat in the ring. Why not?
No, yeah. I haven't got that far yet, but thanks, Lance.
No problem. So I wanted to start off talking about, this book feels very like an LA noir book. It just feels like very LA to me. When I first saw it, I was like, yeah, this is a person who like really appreciates the city in a way that Raymond Chandler-esque, a Raymond Chandler-esque writer. Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah. There are parallels to Chandler for sure. I mean, I like that kind of writing that sort of cuts to the bone. It's not too pretty. It's kind of jagged, and I just it was actually born writing that way was actually born out of like the fear of writing a first novel, because this is my first novel, and it was sort of terrifying. But somewhere along the lines, I heard someone say like, well, just try writing one sentence at a time. And so it sort of dispelled that sort of angst about like, I'll just never get it done. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, I guess I'm writing like a bit like Raymond Chandler here. But then I think, I find like in the first draft, it was very much like that. And then as you sort of go over and over, I found I was able to sort of make it my own.
Did your relationship with LA, evolve or change while writing it? Like, did you have to like, see a different side of the city you've lived in?
I wouldn't say it. I mean, the protagonist has a certain point of view on Glendale and everything, and I like I don't. Some people sort of conflate my opinion with Glendale versus the protagonist.
Yeah,
I don't have a grudge against Glendale. I think for him, it's more like he had sort of this dream of being in sort of, I don't know, West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, blah, blah, blah. And so to find yourself in Glendale, I think for him, that's sort of where that comes from. But I do think like, the city sort of skews west. And I feel like I myself live on the east side, and I identify as an east side LA guy.
Right.
I mean, my relationship with LA didn't change so much over the course of writing it.
No, I mean, I think the east side is the better side. Am I saying that as a person who also lives on the east side? Yeah. No, there is a east side, west side kind of thing in LA, is there? I don't even know how to explain it. Like the west siders look down on the east siders, but east siders also look down on the west siders. It's back and forth, but like, yeah, I don't know. It's
a funny divide. I think, I just think, when I talk to my family, who majority of them live in Canada, and I say I live in LA, they have this image of just palm trees and ocean breezes and Laguna Beach and or something like that, and that's just not sort of how I live my life. Like I can go to the beach, but it like takes me an hour. I have to fight some serious traffic to get there, so I really got to want it. And I just think I think no matter where I just think wherever we are sort of identifies us a little bit, in LA.
And I mean 100%. I think that I was home recently visiting my family on the East Coast, and same, where I was like trying to explain where I live, and they were like, okay, so how close is that to the beach? I'm like, no, I live in East Hollywood. Like, I'm not close to the beach at all.
Right. They're like okay, it's there.
Right. And they're like, so there's East Hollywood, is there a South Hollywood? I was like, I don't know how to explain this to you guys anymore. It's so hard to explain to people who don't live out here too, where I think like books like this kind of give it also like a gritty vibe that I think exists. There is that gritty vibe in LA too, where like, anyone could be a private eye at any second. Who knows? Like, like
absolutely. When I first moved here, I knew guys who were aspiring actors, but they were working as for private investigation firms because it was a job they could do,
right,
sort of punch in and punch out.
And it's there's also a romantic, especially for like, I feel like a lot of, actors, yes, but like writers too, like a romanticism of it, which I feel like is in your book, right? Like a romanticism of like the life of a private eye, in the sense of like, I could do this, I could be a hero in my own right.
Yes. Oh man, I have so many thoughts on that. I do, because I've given it a lot of thought. I think there's a total romanticism of private eye. I mean, I think if you talk to any real private investigators, it's not nearly as pretty and glossy and exciting as is glorified.
Yeah.
But I also think, having written for like a murder show for 5 years, I sort of there's just sort of like this thing in me now that I'm convinced I can do it. I know I could do it, and I can't. Like, I'm not just the farthest thing from a PI. It's just not. Like, I have dreams, and yes, so I get the aspiration angle of it all.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a cool aspiration. It's a cool aspiration. Like, why? Like, I mean, for your protagonist, it kind of falls into his lap, right? It kind of it falls into his lap, but he also, like, wants it a little bit too, right?
Absolutely. And more than anything, he is grasping at some kind of identity, and at this crossroads. And when this happens, he's all of a sudden, he's found something to set his hooks into, to sort of give him some purchase in life, and say, well, if I figure this out, I will be worth something.
Yeah. Which is a very LA personality to have,
It is. Yeah,
I mean, before we started recording, we were kind of talking about that. We're like, it's a city where, like, you can't plan stuff. You have to, like, you can't plan, you could make plans on who you think you're going to be and all this stuff. And I mean, do you feel like, I know you said there's a lot of difference with your views of LA and the protagonist, but in that aspect of, like, identity and trying to find your identity through, what you're doing at the moment, do you feel any sort of relationship with you and your protagonist on that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, there's definitely some overlap, Lance. Yeah, I do identify with some of his sort of his point of view, but I agree. I think LA, it's such a fantastic, wild city, and I just I've lived here 15 years now, and recently became an American, and all these things that just has an impact on you. But when I first got here, I was just sort of overwhelmed with the size of the city, and choosing where to live, and all of a sudden that sort of puts you in a certain category or what you want to do. It's all pretty overwhelming.
It's an overwhelming city.
Yeah. And then you find yourself in a certain, like, when I was trying to break into television, I knew somebody who worked on a show, and he was the one who sort of helped me get the job. And if I didn't know that person, I don't know if I would have been on that kind of show, which sort of set me on a certain path. So there's sort of a weird fatalistic thing going on, but also sort of helpless to it all.
I mean, and I feel like you kind of, that helplessness is kind of what, like, sets off your protagonist, right? The helplessness of, like, what is this city, like, I'm not going to let the city, control my life anymore. I'm not going to be helpless to the city. I'm going to, like, it feels like the idea to become a private eye, it would be like fighting back against that. You're like, I'm not going to let the city do what it keeps doing. Again, I'm going to be a change in this. I'm going to make a change.
Yeah, and he is drowning, drowning out himself, drowning in bourbon, drowning in in how to live, and trying to sort of grasp at some kind of
anything,
identity.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people go through when you get here. It's just, you've got to try and find something that, and the first thing people sort of ask you when you go to a party is, what do you do? And I think we just attach so much of that to our profession here.
Yeah. I mean, what do you do is one of the most, it's one of those questions that like you dread hearing. Like you're like, oh God, what do I do? Like like I feel like I like soft violin music plays when I'm doing that. I'm just having the existential crisis, and like, the spotlight hits me and I'm just it's the worst. It's the worst. But it just it's I want to kind of pivot now, because you kind of talked about it a little bit, to you as a writer. So you're a TV writer right now. How did your relationship as a writer kind of grow into writing this debut novel of yours?
I would say it a lot of it happened because of spite. I was writing sort of pitches and outlines and writing pilots and scripts, and it was all great, but it was like, at the end of the day, I wanted to write something that was just the thing. And
Right.
I was so hungry just to break out of that sort of pattern where every day you write or you work on a document that never sees the light of day. And so I would just start each day with like, okay, I'm just going to squirrel away 15 minutes here or a little bit just to try and like give myself something. And from that, I was like, it just got bigger and bigger. Yeah. And then I sort of made a commitment at one point just to be like, okay, I got to finish this thing, which was really hard. And that's that's when it got really hard, but I did it.
You did it. How long was that process?
I mean, I would say I was working for half of it. I was working, for half of it I was not on staff. So, but overall, like a year basically between writing and rewriting.
The best part, right? Rewriting.
I actually didn't mind rewriting this. I sort of liked,
wow.
Because when I first started, it was very jagged and rough, and by the end, I felt like I'd sort of I got into the rhythm of writing it, and not being a screenwriter by day and then being sort of novelist at night was it was just like a different gear. And once I sort of fell into it, it became easier. It was like just going to the gym. I'd been exercising that muscle more and more. And so when I went, after like 8 months of writing, I went back and I said, in the beginning, I was like, oh God, this is terrible. And it was really helpful. Like, I really liked actually rewriting, which doesn't usually happen. Usually it's a bother. You're like, oh, okay, I got my first draft and I just want to press send. But I actually didn't mind it.
No, I mean, like, that's great. Like, you are a lucky few who like I've more people like the rewriting process. I do not, but and to the writers who don't, again, I'm with you. I stand in solidarity for the writers who don't like
well,
rewriting.
usually it sucks, but I don't know.
No, I mean, do you think it's because this was something different, something like your own project that you were working on yourself?
There was no deadline there's no deadline, there was no expectation. It was only because I wanted it to be, and there's a certain freedom there versus once someone's expecting greatness, then all of a sudden it's like, well, I got to deliver greatness, and then all of a sudden your creativity gets kind of it can be challenging to sort of shake that off, I think.
I mean, that, and how was that like process of like, switching from TV writer during the day to a novelist at night, and going back and forth on that?
Oh man, it was great and painful. Like there's just not enough hours in the day, especially when you've got two young kids, that so to carve out that extra, like, all right, when as late as like the dishes are done,
Yeah.
lunches are done, everything's done. It's like 9:30. I just want to turn off my brain, but like, no, I'm gonna crank out. Okay, I'm gonna crank out an hour of work. It was hard, but it was very rewarding at the end of the day.
No, I mean it has to be, right? It feels like it has to be in a way of like, not has to be in the sense of like it has to be this, but like it has to be rewarding to like, push through and do that, especially with two young kids. You are good for you. Good for congratulations. Like,
no,
does not sound easy.
And honestly, I listen to a lot of podcasts and I'm almost speaking to those writers who have found themselves in that sort of in between phase where it's. I just think you got to keep going, and I just shout out to those people because I've been there, and I don't know. I guess this is a testament to like that it can happen, that it can be real.
What have you, as like for your first novel and coming at it as a writer already? What did you learn about like your own writing process and just like doing this new form of writing for yourself? What have you learned anything about just
what have
anything?
I learned?
Yeah, what have you learned?
Sure. I'd say first off, I learned not to be so afraid, which I think when you're sort of, I learned not to talk about it. I think it's important. Well, for me anyway, I didn't really talk about this book with many people. I sort of kept it secret. But I had a goal, and that goal, I sort of just discovered, more or less to keep it sort of private. I stopped myself halfway through there because I actually went to a New Year's Eve party after I had written like some of it. And after a few drinks, I was the guy at the table who said, okay, I'm going to write a novel this year. and then I didn't, it was out there, and it really, it truly propelled me to like keep going. And by the way, like it was sort of May, June where I looked at my watch and I was like, oh man, I really got, if I'm going to stand up to my word, I really better crank this thing out. But just getting back to your question, I know, I learned not to sort of be afraid. I learned not to worry about copying other voices that I was very afraid of doing. I just sort of, I would say those are a couple things that I just learned by doing it.
And I mean, how was that when you finished and had to like now show people? Like, how was that?
Terrified, excited. I mean, I did I much to probably my rep chagrin, I sort of had been sinking a lot of time into this thing that they didn't know about. So I gave them the old email, which I'm sure they hate it when their clients do this, but I was like, I wrote a book, and they're like, whoa, that's incredible. And it was very rewarding. And then it was sort of like, well, we'll see if we can sell it. And thankfully they did. And I was very excited that sort of, they got excited about it, So yeah, did I answer that question?
No, I think you did. Yeah. No, that's
terrifying,
probably, nerve-wracking to like, especially after you said you were like trying to like keep it a secret, keep it to yourself for so long. You must be like, all right, now I have to send this. It's your third child now that you're like, all right, I have to see what people think of this. What people think of this now. I have to let it out into the world and see what comes back.
There was this crazy. Sometimes Twitter can be a bit of a crazy thing, but there's some tweets that stick with you. And one tweet was Ronald McDonald sitting in front of on a park bench, and there was like a mountain of destruction behind him, and he's smiling. And some writer made some joke about like, oh, this is, I even forget what they said, but ultimately it was somebody wrote a quote like, yeah, this is why I never talk about my projects that aren't done or
Yeah.
finished, because
Mhm.
that's what they that's how I took it anyway, that like
Yeah.
you got to keep it close, and then when it's ready,
Mhm.
have the courage to ship it off. And
Mhm. I mean, that's the hardest part, to
it's the
not
game,
even,
right, Lance?
it's the game. It's the game. You got to put yourself out there. You got to make yourself vulnerable to see if, what comes of it. What because you're still writing television. You're still
Mhm.
you're still a TV writer throughout all of this. Do you think though that like this is the next step for you, like novelist is not the next step in the sense of you're like walking away from TV, but like that this is a new era for you?
Yeah, I would say that I'm excited to keep doing it,
Mhm.
um, but it's not my day job, so to speak.
Yeah.
I just it's something I like doing concurrently.
Mhm.
I think even most TV writers I know now, like it's they're always writing something, even
Mhm.
with respect to the project that they're on. There's always sort of the background, the app is running of like what the
Yeah.
next project is, or and I just think, yeah, why not throw novels into the mix as well, as
Right.
what's the next show that we're working on, the next pitch
Mhm.
that we're working on.
You're
Yeah.
always running. You're always running. It's the I mean, I feel like especially if you doing it like all day, like switching between TV and novels, how you can't turn that off, right?
No, I
You
can't
can't turn
now.
that
I've
off.
just been wired
I
a
mean,
certain way.
I hope you took some time, after. I mean, the book is coming out when this podcast comes out. I believe it'll be the week after that the book will be available in the stores. I mean,
Okay. May
have you
2nd,
take
yeah.
May 2nd? Yeah. Have you taken any time to like, just sit with it and, kind of like, just celebrate the fact that this book is coming out for yourself?
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
plenty of celebration, Lance. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
that's great.
no, I think it's important to kind of have that downtime
Mhm.
creatively, so that you're not just hard, for me anyway, not just hard
Mhm.
charging to the next one and sort of letting
Right.
it, like, okay, make some decisions about what's exciting you. And yeah, so to answer your question, I had plenty of downtime to kind of reset and think about what's next and all those fun questions that of
Right.
course I'm looping my reps into now.
So the last thing I want to ask, if I mean, been having a great time. This has been so much fun to
Me
talk about
too.
this. I mean, I feel like this has been one of the most like LA centered episodes I've done.
Oh, cool.
Um, but you're the TV shows you've worked on have also been like, you know, Castle is. Would you say Castle's like it's a police it's a procedural show, but would you say it's gritty? I wouldn't say it's gritty.
No, it wasn't a gritty
No.
show at all.
Yeah.
It was more glossy than gritty, I'd say. It was
Yeah.
an ABC show.
Yeah.
That being said, I guess there were certain episodes that were kind of darker.
Darker,
It
yeah.
sort of was a murder mystery that sort of balanced. I would say, uh, they did a really good job of
Mhm.
balancing the humor with the stakes.
Right. And
So yeah,
then
no, it was not a
but
gritty show.
Tribal's grittier, right?
It is, yeah. It's
Yeah.
much more sort of much more on the grittier scale.
Grittier scale. So like with Tribal and Castle and like this book, you've done like a lot of like the procedural kind of um investigative works. Do you want to continue that, or is there any other genres that you would like to explore as well?
Um, I do like a little bit of crime in my writing. I do.
Crime is fun. I love crime. Crime is always it's there's always a place in every genre or any not genre, any like art space for like the crime investigative. If you love everyone loves a good crime show.
Yeah. That being said, like I do, as a father, I definitely have found myself gravitating just towards more character driven sort of dramas that I suddenly have a greater understanding for. Yeah, so I definitely, I also like sort of crime is, to me, can also be the background, but at the end of the day, it's all about the characters, first and foremost.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be sort of crime specific, but and I'm a sucker for a good sci-fi mystery.
Sci-fi. I mean, sci-fi is always a sci-fi mystery is always a fun time too, because then you get to like, your own world you get to kind of control. Yeah, it's always a fun time. But yeah, no, I agree. The character, like Chandler also was kind of a champion that of being like, here's a crime, but also like you're going to be entranced by this character that I've created. And it's just it's almost as important as the crime, I think, for a crime drama. Yeah,
I agree.
No, this has been, well, thank you for this episode. It's been great having you on. I'm excited for this book. To the listeners, The Damn Lovely is on sale May 2nd. You can buy it at your local bookstores, including SKYLIT Books, if that's your local bookstore. But if not, go to your local independent bookstore and get yourself a copy. Adam, is there anything you'd like to say to our listeners or the independent bookstore community?
No, Lance, thanks so much for having me on. It's been a true honor. I've just loved SKYLIT for many, many years. So I even had a line in the book where the protagonist went to SKYLIT, but it ended up being at 3 a.m. in the morning, so I couldn't justify it. It killed me to take it out. He went to Fred 62 across the street, though. For what it's
Okay,
worth.
Fred. Okay. I mean, that's in the neighborhood. That's like the readers will know. The readers will be like, oh, definitely went to SKYLIT afterwards.
Yeah.
That's the move. You go to Fred and you go to SKYLIT.
That's right. You get your milkshake. You get your chocolate milkshake at Fred 62, and you walk it over, and then you find
look
your
at books. Exactly. I'm telling you, that's if you're visiting LA, do that.
Right.
That should be part of like
go to a movie at Los Feliz 3 after.
Yeah,
It's the perfect day.
I feel like that's a LA tour. Like that should be a part of an LA tour. Go to Fred 62, SKYLIT, and see a movie afterwards. No, but thank you, Adam. This has been a great episode. To my listeners, thank you. If this is your first time, thank you for listening. There's some great episodes. Go back and listen to some. We have some on the way. If you're returning, thank you for coming back. I appreciate and love all of you. You guys all have a great rest of your day. Do something nice for yourself, and see you again soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the SKYLIT Books podcast series. Please don't forget to visit our website at skylitbooks.com and make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more author talks and bookseller conversations. You can find us on Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. Stay safe and healthy, and we hope to see you back in our store soon.